tifu by giving a less than 1% tip to my pizza driver. Inspired by the guy W. Howlett accidentally tipped 140%. It brought back memories of the time I completely miscalculated and left a horrible tip. This was years ago. When I was 13 or 14, I was home alone and my parents left me pizza money, so I ordered Pizza Hut. I did the math prior to ordering and did not factor in delivery charges or taxes. When the guy came to my door, I gave him the money and asked him if that was good. He sarcastically replied with, "Well, that leaves me with 11 cents, but it's good." Going based on my prior calculation, I thought he was joking, and in my head I thought it was at least a $3 or $4 tip and did not give him any more. After looking at the receipt, I realized I didn't factor in the tax and delivery charges and actually did tip him 11 cents on a $24.89 order. I felt like a horrible person and wanted to give him more, but I obviously didn't drive, and the pizza place was about 2.5-3.0 miles away, so I couldn't walk there. TL. Doctor, I miscalculated the total for pizza I ordered and tipped my driver 11 cents on a $24.89 order when I was a teenager and felt awful for doing it. Edit. He was in his 50s, which is probably why I felt more guilty about it. Also, he wasn't rudely sarcastic, but more so unconvincing when he told me the tip was good. In my experience, we didn't really mind if it was a little kid. W. Howlett didn't tip. Really? I always thought adult waitstaff and delivery drivers despised little kids because they are known for being obnoxious and not tipping well. I'm talking mainly delivery here. If we showed up and a little kid just paid us close to the actual bill, then I'm not going to fault a little kid for not knowing the nuance of tipping and the social contract that we've created here. It's a minimal interaction that you just move on from. Kids in a restaurant monopolizing a table for an hour and sharing only one appetizer absolutely sucks though, because you're stuck with them and have to constantly buzz around for any of their obnoxious demands and to make sure they don't dine and dash. Couple years ago, my wife paid our regular pizza delivery guy with debit. Yes, I said regular. We ordered a lot of pizza. She never did it before. It was usually me, and she didn't realize she didn't tip him. Just a blonde moment. She felt terrible and called the pizza place and said she forgot to tip the driver. Is there any way she could do it over the phone? To which they laughed and said don't worry about it. My wife insisted, but they wouldn't do anything. So she ate her pizza and was pretty upset with herself. After I ate, I hopped in my truck and drove the 15 minutes to the pizza shop and waited in the parking lot until the driver pulled up in the lot. The kid drove a pretty distinct car, so I knew it was him. When he got out of his car, I said, "Hey bud, we always take care of you, but this time we forgot," and I tipped him 10 or 20 bucks. Whatever the amount was, the kid was speechless. He just stood there like WTF! Exclamation mark. You came here for this? I quickly hopped in my truck and was pulling out of the spot, and he came and banged on my window. When I opened it up, he reached in the window, shook my hand, and gave me his name. Said he really appreciated that and noon's ever done that. The next time we went to order pizza from that place, we were told they can no longer deliver to us and we had to order elsewhere. Lol. Either way, tip your pizza guys well, they carry precious cargo. So glad we don't have this tip culture in the UK. Lucky we only have tip culture because businesses don't want to pay a living wage. Don't get me started with my jealousy of your healthcare. I feel as though it's a rite of passage though, because I too have a memory of being early teens in the mid 90s, getting left 20 bucks for pizza, and probably gave the guy a sub 50-cent tip. I, however, did not rub it in by asking the dude if we were good. As a former worker, W. Howlett got tips under job. A man W. Howlett would sarcastically complain about a tip to a child doesn't deserve the tip in the first place. Lace. Teenagers typically try to be more vigilant when tipping, when I personally don't mind if they can tip. I was a broke kid before too. Yet, they still end up tipping better than most adults. W. Howlett didn't even do $1 on big orders. One time I had exact change. Normally doesn't happen, but I told the guy to keep the change. It was honestly very embarrassing. Tipping is such an abstract concept to me. We don't do it at all. Keep the change is the most I ever do, and if it's in a restaurant somewhere I'm more likely to put it in a charity pot. Also, just to clarify, this isn't me being an R. We legit just don't tip in this country. I guess we pay our workers fairly in the first placer. I never tip pizza drivers. But on the other hand, I live in the Netherlands, where pizza drivers are paid a decent wage and do not have to survive on the tips from their customers. Pizza delivery guy here. I had a customer do this to me once only when they realized the mistake. They called the store and asked that I be sent back to them so they could give a proper tip. I went and they gave me $10. Not bad on a $20 order. One time freshman year of college I didn't realize you could tip on a card payment. And when the pizza delivery guy came I realized I didn't have any cash for a tip and stiffed him. I didn't tip a barber once when I was a dumb shy kid. Felt absolutely awful about it. The person at the register asked if I wanted to add a tip, and I said no, because I figured it's literally always on the receipt and I didn't want to announce my tip just a few feet away from the barber. I planned to give at least 50% because it was a really good cut. It was not on the receipt. I was way too shy to ask to fix it. I'm glad I grew out of that. Back when I was a delivery driver for Domino's, over 15 years ago, I had a guy try and pay with a $100 bill. I don't remember how, but I think we made it clear when people ordered and paid cash that we couldn't break anything over a $20. This guy asked me to take him to the store so he could break it. I drove this guy over a mile down the road and brought him back for him to leave me $0 tip. He sat there and let me count out his change down to the penny. I was always dumbfounded when people wouldn't even let you keep the coins and would wait for me to dig through our money bag looking for exact change. As a former bartender, if you expect tips, you need to find a different job. If the wage you agreed to isn't enough to pay your bills, why did you end your job search and accept the unacceptable wage? 3 years ago I took my first Uber from Wilmington, North Carolina to Camp Lejeune absolutely wasted. After a hour-long trip I got on base and not knowing how Uber worked, because my buddy installed it, I asked how much I owed him. He replied, well, whatever you think is fair. So I figured an hour car ride would run me $1 a minute, so I gave him 60. He was absolutely thrilled and we parted ways. The next day I looked at my card and realized that Uber's take card. So this is a back in the day as well. My sister worked at a local restaurant. Think IHOP, but locally created and owned. Because it was a family owned thing, she could get away with a bit of leniency. We would occasionally go and get reduced meals. We would then tip them an increased amount, around 40-50% of the original amount. This would bring our amount still less than what we would pay normally, but give the servers a good wage for the service. My dad decided to go one day to visit my sister and I went along. After the meal I went to the bathroom while he paid and tipped. I heard from my sister that he is a really bad tipper, like 8% or so. I was very shocked at this. I had no idea. I'm a server and honestly anytime I serve kids/teenagers without a parent there I just expect to not get a tip, and if they do tip it's a treat. I don't mind it too much. As a former pizza delivery guy I've been stiffed worse on much bigger orders, like $200 plus, and I only got actually pissed if it was a full grown adult doing the crappy tipping. It happened a lot with kids. It was disappointing. But we understood and didn't hate the kids for it. I know I didn't really fully get the whole tipping thing at that age. I've tipped zero a few times during 4 pickup orders, because these restaurants quickly create an online ordering platform and make it easy to overlook the tip line. I keep expecting to see it on the next page, and then all of a sudden everything's ordered and nowhere to add a tip. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.